Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm making a really special video. So I'm on holidays here in Haute-Savoie, so that's the Alps in France, and I'm at my boyfriend's mother's house, and I don't think there's a word for it, so it's not my stepmother because we're not married, but is there some other way to say it? I don't know, I would love to know. And I have 2 weeks until my mother's 60th birthday, so I really want to make something really a bit out there, and she absolutely loves, she's really quite eccentric, she loves like really out there outfits and dresses and stuff like this, and I've made two things for her before. So I've made this beautiful red, it was a cashmere sweatshirt pullover that had holes all over. It was such a mess, so I just filled up all these holes with homemade felt, and then I made all these leaves that I put everywhere, and then I embroidered some beads and some textiles and stuff, and she really loves it. She puts it all the time. And then I had this really small blue cashmere again sweatshirt, I don't know how to call it, un pull. And it was again full of holes, which is why I got it really cheap. So I just put little fish, and I thought it was really cute to put all these little silver fish, and it really reminded me like of the sea and stuff, so she really liked that one too. And this time I found this dress. So again, cashmere, 100%, so it's pretty cool, and I got it for 50 cents because it has two massive holes. I think they're over here. One's there, and that's right where you don't want a hole. Well, you don't want a hole anywhere, but that one you really don't want. It's right in the middle, right there, down there. So she loves the Dutch Masters bouquet, you know, and so I was taking some inspiration from that, and I thought I would just repair the holes and then add some flowers. I've written down the flowers that I really want to make.
In the Dutch Masters bouquet, a lot of flowers were extremely present. So like them, I am going to make a peony, an iris, a rose, a cabbage rose, a big yellow flower, a tulip, some volubilis, and I'm forgetting a couple of flowers and iris and stuff. I start with the textiles that I already have, and I try to match them with the flowers that I like.
Oh, and I also wanted to share a little bit with you this idyllic place that I am at. It's really quite pretty. Let me show you. So that's the back of the house. And over there, there's the mountains. And I'm not sure which one, but one of them, I think, if we can see it, is like the highest mountain in France, which is Le Mont Blanc. I'm not sure which one it is, sorry, I'm not from here. So yeah, it's pretty cool, even though it's rain, I think, all week. So it's gonna be an indoor project, which is pretty cool, so that's a good thing, I guess.
So I started by drawing or tracing when I was lazy the flowers I liked. Here are the different flowers as mentioned, and I will also draw a couple of leaves for each flower. And of course I try to match some colors. I really like to mix a lot of different textures and textiles together. So for each flower I'm choosing a variety of different colors. So here you see my iris, as I mentioned, and the leaves that go with the iris. And this is my pile of textiles, and these are the colors I'm choosing for the volubilis, with the blue flowers and the greens that are a little bit blue, which I think is pretty cool. Moving on to this nice little pile, I did not use most of these colors. So this is the pavot, the Icelandic poppy. It's very orange, and I'm going to be using the white textile that I bought that I'm going to color in a different color. Then this is the tulip, which is very red and white. And I love this little green textile I found for the leaves. Then we have a lot of darker colors and the yellow flower. I'm going to use all of these nice little yellow, very, very varied textiles for that. Here we have a lot of browns and these beautiful colors that I'm thinking for the iris. I don't know yet if I want to go more purple or more dark red, but I love those colors. And I love the one with the little flowers, so pretty. It goes so well together. I'm really excited to use them. Then we have these ones. This is for the rose. I really love the one with the little flowers, but I'm not sure I'm gonna use it. And then here we have the peony, which is going to be a textile flower. So with all my drawings finished, I just cut off all my flowers. Draw the outline on some double-sided iron-on or fusible textile, and then we cut those shapes out. Starting with the volubilis, place the fusible pieces on a net. I am using a dark green net because the dress is dark green, so use any color you want. The net is so you can work on each patch separately using an embroidery hoop, so otherwise it's too hard to embroider. Then iron the pieces. Make sure you protect your iron using baking paper. The sticky side has to be up right through the net so you can fuse your textiles and sandwich the net in between each layer. Then you need to cut the shapes out of the different fabrics. Here are all the colors I use for each flower, and since there are several colors, I decided to cut my shapes so as to use all the fabrics. So I cut the flower templates according to the colors of the flower. Make sure you iron your fabric well, and also make sure all your pieces touch the fusible iron-on textile, otherwise they will move. Then you iron them onto your fusible textile. And then it's time to embroider. So here I use embroidery floss and beads. You can use whatever you like. It can be even like lace and wool, yarn, sequins, anything. And I really, really love how they turned out. I think they look beautiful. And this is perfect as a patch to hide any holes in a dress or anything. And I'm sorry I don't have a much better picture, but this is how they look on the dress. So now let's make the volubilis leaves. Here are all my textiles and the iron-on fabric is underneath. So now I'm just going to place them. I've put some numbers on them to make sure I don't forget and put them the wrong way. And here they are. Now I am protecting everything so that nothing gets stuck wherever it shouldn't. And then we're going to use our iron, and here is the result. And now I'm going to embroider. So I used a variety of different embroidery stitches that I really liked, and I did have a lot of fun trying a lot of different embroidery stitches. And with my boyfriend's mother, we had a lot of fun checking out different types of embroidery and trying them out. So that was really fun. She sent me a bunch to try. I loved it. And now let's make the peony. For this I am following a free YouTube tutorial by the DIY Mommy, and of course I will link it down below. First things first, you need to cut down all the petals, and to make sure your textile doesn't fray, you need to melt the edges using a candle. But it turns out my textile is not 100% synthetic, and I did not want to buy another textile. I am really stubborn that way, so I persevered. It cost me a lot of patience. As you can see, my textile really burnt in some places, but I did decide to just cut off the burnt edges with my little scissors, and I think it turned out pretty good in the end. Let me know. So if this happens to you, know that there is a solution, even if it's a very, very fiddly one and it takes a lot of time, but I do think the results are definitely worth it.
I finally did all of the petals, and then I made this. This is literally some thread, this thread that I just painted yellow, literally. And then there's this one that I'm going to use for this flower, where I just painted the tips yellow. And now it's just drying. And I made this little bowl using a lot of the stuff that I had left, like the scraps of textile that I had left from making my petals. and I just filled it in, and I just sewed the bottom pretty badly, but it shouldn't be visible. So now I'm just gonna attach this together, and then I'm going to attach the petals one by one like shown in the tutorial, and I hope it looks good. And I'm going to make it using some thread. I'm not gonna use any glue because if my mother puts her dress in the laundry, I want the dress to look good and not everything to fall apart. So I'm just gonna work with that, and hopefully it's going to look good.
And this is how the center looks all sewed up. I think it looks pretty great. I've sewed up all the sides on the sides, and it shouldn't show because of the petals. And then this is my first attempt at the flower. I didn't like it. I thought it looked a bit strange. So I decided to do it all over again, and it took me forever. And this is my second attempt. I folded and sewed the base of each petal so they would look fuller. I think the result is better, but I would love your input in the comments. In the tutorial, she uses the flame to make the petals rounder. And of course, I couldn't do the same, so they were all completely flat. But here I am, just as I mentioned, I am just adding a button so that you can remove this flower when you want to put it in the laundry. I think you can put it in the laundry anyways, but I don't know, it might just be strange or dry strange, so I just wanted to add this option. And it's quite complicated because I don't want anything to be visible, so I end up switching for a pink thread whenever I get closer to the center, which I'm going to do very soon. So really complicated, as I mentioned, it took me forever, but here is the final flower that I am attaching on the dress. I think it looks really neat, and this is the little button as I mentioned. And here it is on the dress. That's the first trying out of my mom's. And then it's time to work on my big yellow flower. This is my template, so I got all the petals in different yellow textiles, and I love the different textures and stuff. And here are some of the stitches that I've started to make. The process is always the same, so you just always stick it onto your iron-on fabric, and then you just embroider the heck out of it. And then I am using some beads. Yellow beads, of course, so I had to choose the yellow ones from my big stash of red beads. And then you can see all the different types of stitches that I've tried here. It was a lot of fun. And here is the finished flower, ready to be cut out of this net and placed onto the dress. Now let's work on the tulip. As I mentioned, my idea is to reproduce the flowers from the Dutch master's flower arrangement paintings, and as you can see here, there are always tulips in these arrangements, especially that red and white tulip that is the most famous tulip in history and also called the king of tulips. It is the Semper Augustus tulip. This is quite an incredible story, so let me tell you. The Dutch tulip bulb market bubble was one of the most famous market bubbles and crashes of all time, also known as tulip mania. It occurred in Holland during the early to mid 1600s when speculation drove the value of tulip bulbs to extremes. Bulbs of this Semper Augustus tulip actually sold for more than a house. Everyone loved that tulip, and it is depicted everywhere, and growers really had a hard time replicating it, which is why it was so expensive. And research in the 1920s finally revealed that the source of the Semper Augustus beauty was actually a curse. It is a virus today known as the TBV or tulip breaking virus. While it caused amazing color patterns like the red and white, sometimes other colors as well, it also served to weaken the bulb, including any offshoots produced. With each subsequent generation, the bulbs would become more and more degraded until one day they would be too weak to flower and the genetic line would die off. Tulip mania dramatically collapsed in February 1637. It is generally considered to have been the first recorded speculative bubble in history. It actually had no critical influence on the prosperity of the Dutch Republic, which was one of the leading economic and financial powers in the 17th century. So it's quite incredible, and I did go to Amsterdam and to the Tulip Museum and I learned all about this Semper Augustus tulip, and of course I wanted to make one for my mother's dress. So here we are embroidering the tulip. As usual, I have used a lot of different colors of red and white and embroidered everything, and used a lot of beads as well to add a lot of pizzazz. Is that a word? And here it is all finished. And here I've removed the net and it is ready to be sewn onto the dress. What do you think? Now let's work on the poppy. This is an Icelandic poppy and it's what I wanted to do. Of course, I didn't find the textile that I wanted, so I used this white crepe here, which is completely synthetic, so I would be able to just melt the ends. But as you can tell, it's not the right color, so let's dye it. And I am using this tie-dye kit. For this, I've used it before, it's worked quite well. I have no idea if it's going to work well on this synthetic fabric. Let's just add some water and shake it well until all the depot is gone. Put it on our textile for a couple hours, and I am going to leave it actually an entire night. I did want to have a gradient, so this is what I've done. I attached the top of the textile with an elastic band. This acts as a resist, preventing the dye from saturating the fabric. It's the tie-dye technique actually. Any place that the dye can't reach will stay white, creating the design that I want. And now I'm just going to empty that bottle and leave it all night. So here it is the next day, and this is after washing. It's dyed off, like a lot of the color is gone, but I did throw away the rest of the dye. So I'm going to have to work with something else, and I've decided to add a lot of yellow because I do like a yellow poppy, and I decided to use curcuma or turmeric in English. It's from the ginger family and it is native to the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. The roots turn into this deep orange yellow powder. It's commonly used as a coloring agent, which is why we're going to use it now, and it is also used a lot in Asian cuisine, especially for curries. And so you just use some boiling water. I'm going to put my textile in it and then leave it again overnight. And here it is on the next day. It's pretty yellow. I love the color, so let's wash off the extra. After a lot of washing, the color kind of washed away. Honestly, it's not very bright anymore, and that's because it's synthetic, I'm pretty sure. So it's okay. I just cut off all the excess right here. I wanted to keep that white at the edge for my petals to become whiter at the center of the flower. And now I am cutting off my petals, and I'm going to use a candle to melt the edges so it doesn't fray. Then I am using a needle to gather the fabric where the petals are joined together in the center of the flower. Once all the petals are all gathered, we can sew them onto our iron-on fabric, which in this case is really just a guide. I'm not going to iron anything on. And here are 2 petals attached to my flower, and then 4 petals. There's only 4 petals in a poppy. I was really surprised. And now I'm going to use this transparent nylon thread to attach the petals so that they don't move around.
It's finally a super sunny day, as you can see. Really sunny, and I did not cut the textile. I just thought, oh, I'll cut it later, and then I forgot. But I think it's okay. If the flower is too big, I think I'm just gonna go and do something like this and give it a little bit more oomph. A bit, you know, it's gonna be like this. I think it looks pretty cool. And so I didn't want the flower to go like this and be able to see the back here. So I've been sewing. I tried with white thread. Of course, it's at the underneath this petal so you can't see it, but then I used a nylon thread here and you definitely can't see that one, so I'm pretty happy. And I've used it to sew this petal on top here and you can barely see it, so I'm pretty happy with my work. So I've fully attached the petals to our green background here. You can't move them so much anymore. And so now it's time to make the anthers, I think it's called. And if you see on the picture, like pavot islandais, they have a really light anthers, I guess, and then the pollen on top is quite bright. So I'm just going to do this embroidery all around and hope that it looks good. And here are the first pollen things. I think it looks okay. I'm going to attempt to show you the knot I use for the little pollen things. Okay, so first you take your thread out and whenever you need it, and then you just pass it through your textile like this, about the length of the I'm just gonna call it a lump of pollen. Okay, this is a bit better. So you just take it out like this. Don't take it fully out, and then just pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 approximately. And I'm noticing that it's a lot smaller than this here, so I'm just gonna do it twice more. So it's gotta be about the same length or a little bit bigger. Then you just have to catch this so it doesn't move, pass your needle through and turn it around that way and finish taking your thread out, because your thread is coming from this end here and this is whatever hasn't come out yet. And I don't really mind this because in a, I don't know the word, étamine. This big lump of pollen is usually a bit bigger at the end, so I'm just gonna leave it like this and then go through my textile, and that's it. And this is how it's going so far, and it's taking forever, but I love it. Oh, and I did have a lot of problems doing this kind of knot, and I figured out the best way to do them is with a needle that is completely straight compared to other needles that can be much wider here where you put the thread. It's not that visible, I guess, but passing this one is so much easier than this. And here the thread just gets attached. It just has a hard time coming out of this area here, and it's such a pain. And for the center of my here poppy, I'm going to use this little button here that I think is pretty cute, and I'm just going to cover it in this little green here. So I'm just going to sew in a little circle, and then I'm just going to do that motion and close it around my button. I'm then going to put some beads to make it look like the center of a poppy, and not forget this, which I think I'm going to make a bit smaller, and then paint them all over again and then attach them with some thread. Yay! And cheers to all the Australians over there. I just got this from a shop in Switzerland. My mother's boyfriend lives pretty near Switzerland, so we just went shopping there. And I haven't had Bundaberg ginger beer for so long, so I'm really happy we got this. Cheers! So the beads are way too big for this kind of result, so I'm going to attempt to do some embroidery a bit similar to what we have here, but you know, more complicated. I did a normal straight stitch around here, however I could. There. And over here I've been just turning around my straight stitch. So it's not perfect, but I think it looks pretty good. So I just go around like this. Try to make it pretty tight. And if it's not exactly right, I guess I'll just go back and make sure it's as nice as I want it. And I think I've been doing this for probably an hour. My mom, I hope she's happy about this dress, and I really hope she realizes that I do it for free. Because I think otherwise this dress would be so expensive because of the time I've spent doing it. Oh my goodness, I couldn't afford it. Ta-da! The poppy is finished with the center, and I think it looks really nice. And these petals are way too big, but I've kept the length so that I can sew it directly on the dress depending on the size that I will need on the dress. But I'm so happy with the details. I think it looks pretty good.
Comment down below, let me know if you like this puppy, and this is how I attached it to the dress using elastic thread to keep the elasticity of the dress. And now let's move on to the next flower, probably my favorite, the iris. Sadly, I did not take any videos while making the iris, so here you can see how I place my textile on the fusible before ironing them. And this is the final result. I used 3 different textiles. I really love the one with the flowers. I also used golden thread and beads for the center and a lot of different embroidery stitches as usual. Again, let me know in the comments how you like this one. I think it's probably my favorite. And I really love the textile with the flowers. I think it looks so great.
So now I've just finished cutting off all my shapes for the rose. I'm following a really nice tutorial. This is silk. I really hope it comes out really nicely. We'll see. I hope it's not as bad as the peony. But yeah, I'll just link down the tutorial below. And since I don't have anything to hold my phone other than my hand, and I need my hands, I'm going to do this off camera and I'll get back to you in a minute. And here is the finished rose. I think I'm going to sew a little bit more at the petals so they lay a little bit more flat, but overall I'm pretty happy. And I think over here I'm going to sew a little bit of green, and then it's going to go on the dress so you won't be able to see it. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I'm happy.
And here is the final flower. I attached a little bit the petals, and this is on the dress. And then here are the leaves that I've prepared. I've prepared at least 1 set of leaf per flower, so they're all according to the type of flower. I've made a similar type of leaf. And these are for the volubilis, and I really love them. And this is more like a tulip leaf or the iris leaf. So I've had a lot of fun again with embroidery stitches and beads and stuff. On all these leaves, I just attach them a little bit all over the dress to add a lot of more greenery, and I think it looks really nice. I'm really happy with it. This is the poppy one. I was really lucky to be able to melt the outsides of And once all of this is done, of course, don't forget to repair the actual dress. So we have 2 holes here, and ideally try to use the same thread so that it doesn't do something strange first time you wash it. I did not have any cashmere, but this is what I found. It's not the right color, but I think one of each thread would be nice. So that was my idea at first. But then I thought, you know what, if it's visible, who cares? I'm going to hide it. So I went with the blue thread. I thought it looked nice, and I just went up and down, up and down, up and down, tried to recreate the however the textile is. And in the end, I actually really like my repair. So I decided to leave it visible in the dress, and it's very light. You can barely see it unless you show it, but I think it looks really nice. So I'm actually thinking of making something. My next repair is probably going to be some visible mending. I don't know if you guys would like to see that. Let me know in the comment. When all my flowers are done, I stitched them on the dress. I tried to look everywhere for a tutorial on how to sew onto knitted fabric, and I could not find anything. So my boyfriend's grandmother, who is a seamstress, told me to use elastic thread. So this is what I did, and I did some small loops at the top on the flower and big ones at the bottom on the dress. And I think this is pretty good. Actually, my mom is happy about it. I think the elasticity is there and it looks completely invisible. So I'm really happy with the result. This is my mom with the dress. She's just trying it on for the first time, and this is where I just attached all the plants to her dress to be able to stitch them after. But she looks really happy and she loves her dress. I hope you guys do too. I know it's a bit of an original piece. Not a lot of people would wear that, but she loves it and I'm really happy about it. Again, as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what I do. Really helps my channel out. Don't forget to share as well if you like my work. Thank you again, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye!